Hey guys, it is Luke from RetroRevival here, and welcome to the first episode of the monthly movie mini podcast. I know this is gonna be weird. I've always wanted to do this sort of thing. I've always wanted to talk about movies, and I was originally going to do these in like video forms because I just love watching movies, talking about movies. I watch absolutely loads of movies, so I thought just do it in a podcast form because I thought if I was going to do it in videos, it'd sort of take up my entire schedule. And I want to talk about movies, but also do the stuff that I'm already doing, that I enjoy doing. So I thought about doing like this unedited podcast. So I am going to make mistakes. I'm probably going to cough. I'm probably going to have to take like a sip of water. I'm going to stumble on what I'm saying because that always happens. But I'm going to talk about. I'm going to do this every month as well. See, I'm already making mistakes, but I'm going to do this every month, and I'm going to talk about the movies I watched this previous month. The only rules are they have to be from this year, um, and they have to be coming out this year because, well, linked to the release date here in the UK. So, for instance, like um, back in April, I watched Nomadland, which is the first time it was released here in the UK. But I understand that it came out like last year in America, so it's basically that. Um, Also, they don't have to be like specifically from this month. Like one of these is actually from June, not July. Um, but I've sort of just clumped it in with the rest of the films in this video. So I've actually got 7 movies I've watched this month, and I think the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to talk about the biggest ones first. So the ones I've seen in the cinema, the big blockbuster ones, and I'm going to go into maybe some more popular streaming ones, and then maybe some lower level streaming ones. So the 7 movies we got today are Black Widow, Space Jam: A New Legacy, the Fear Street trilogy, so part 1, 2, and 3, the Tomorrow War, and America: The Motion Picture. So I'm just going to adjust my mic. See, I'm already making mistakes. It's going to be a big learning curve. And I'm going to do this on the last day of every single month. And as of this coming out, um, this is a Saturday. The 31st is later on a Saturday. I will be also releasing my video I made months ago. That's about the new Chippendale show on Disney Plus. Links in with the custom Lego stuff, so check that out at 7 p.m. this evening. I'm going to release this. I don't know when I'm going to release this. Probably around midday on the 31st. I'm going to do this every month. And in fact, I'm going to put in some timestamps, I think. So if you're just not interested in one of these movies, you can just jump to a movie that you are interested in, or pick and choose what you want to watch instead of watching the whole thing. I don't mind. I understand. So yeah, I think it's time we get into the first movie, and it's Black Widow. I'm just gonna take my first water. There we go. Black Widow. Right. As you all know, I love Marvel, or as you should know, I love Marvel. Um, and I've been hyping this movie up for so long because it's been delayed over and over and over and over again. I mean, it's 14 months. It was delayed for. So, I mean, that's just insane. I know the whole situation that's been going on in the world has done that. Um, so I've been hyping this up, not even for 14 months, because they announced it like a year before that. So literally 2 years. And I watched it on release day. I was sitting there. I went to the cinema with my mum. She likes Marvel as well. And I watched it, and I was a little bit let down. Now, it's not a bad film, and I actually have a. There's a lot of problems with this film, but there's also a lot of good in this film. Um, so I'm really torn because I love Marvel, and the thing is, if you take Black Widow by itself, it is quite a good film. So I've watched a lot of bad action films this year, uh, or just not enjoyable or boring. So it was nice to have one that wasn't boring and one that I liked. Um, So yeah, but if you just put it up against all the other Marvel films, it just comes out as one of the weaker ones. But that's just because they've sort of shot themselves in the foot because all their movies are just so well made and great. I love so many Marvel films. And I like this film. I think it's one of the better films I've seen this year. But I was just still a little bit let down. Um, but anyway, I'm going to say some things I like and some things I don't like. And the best thing about this film is Florence Pugh as Yelena Belova. Everyone else has said it because it is completely true. Um, before this film, sorry, we're just having another water break. Before this film, um, I wasn't feeling great about replacing Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow. I was like, can they really do it? And after this film, now I'm thinking, let's go. I can't wait to see more of Yelena Belova. Um, I might touch on a few spoilers for these films, so you have been warned. Um, I'm looking forward to her being in the Hawkeye show. It's made me way more interested in that now, and she just seems like such a fab person. A great character to introduce. I'm so happy about this. I really hope she gets a bit more recognition. She was great in Midsummer. She's been great in loads of other films. So just watch more Yelena Belova, not Yelena Belova. See, watch more Florence Pugh movies because she's going to be big in the MCU. I promise you that. And that end credit scene in this film, where Val shows up from Falcon and the Winter Soldier, was awesome, and my jaw was on the floor because I absolutely loved that. What else is great in this film? You know what? The opening credits is also very good. It's really shocking for a Marvel film. Some of the things they touch on is really surprising, and I don't think most people would think that that would be in a Marvel film or even a big blockbuster. It feels very indie, and that's thanks to the director. I can't remember her name. It's Kate something. Um, she's she did a pretty good job in this, I think, at the start. We'll talk about the ending of it a little bit later. Another thing I liked, which a lot of people have been giving a lot of, I don't know, how do I put it? A lot of people just haven't been liking it online, but I really enjoyed it. Was David Harbour, of course known for Stranger Things when he played Hellboy in a really bad film a few years ago. Um, he was very wacky and cartoony, and he was pretty much the comic relief of this film. But I thought he was great. I really enjoyed him as Red Guardian. I thought he was funny. I understand he's a bit of a goofball, but I think that's just the point of the character, and I think a lot of people missed that. That yeah, even if it is kind of like a more serious Marvel film, it's all right still to have a little bit of humor in it. Um, yeah, so I really enjoyed him. Rachel Weisz as Iron Maiden is a wasted character. Just they didn't really use her that much. What she did on screen, I liked. What I saw of her, but they just hardly even put her in the film. And Scarlett Johansson herself, uh, she's sort of like one of the least important parts of her film, and it's her film. It's her goodbye of playing Black Widow, and it's not really about her. It's more about Yelena Belova. So and this film should have come out years ago. Of course, it takes place like right after Civil War. So what's the point? Um, yeah, I just don't see the point in this coming out now. But then again, it's not a bad film. It sounds like I'm being really harsh on it, but it's not a bad film. Um, what else can I say? Oh yeah, the Russian accents in this. You Florence Pugh's was good, but some of the other cast members was so bad. It was just really bad. And then the one person who is actually from that area of the world didn't really have any lines to say. So right, we're going to spoilers definitely now because Taskmaster, uh, it was Taskmaster in the comics is supposed to replicate everybody's fighting style, and they just didn't do that in this film. I sort of liked how it tied with, um, I like how it tied with the story of Natasha with the whole Budapest thing. Also, I'm just going to say a little side note: they keep bringing up Budapest in this, which is kind of annoying because I think that would have made a better film. But the whole Budapest thing is that she blew up the guy who's in charge of the Red Room's daughter, and then she and his daughter turns out to be Taskmaster, which I didn't really like. Also, there was this couple behind us in the cinema, and they just gave it away straight away. They're like, "Oh, look, it's his daughter. She's Taskmaster," and I was like, "Oh, great!" So you've just given that away, and they said it really loudly as well in a cinema, which is not great. Um, you know, the film's pretty good, but as I've said, when you tie it together, With the rest of the Marvel stuff, it's not great. And also a detriment to this show, not this show, for this movie, sorry, is that we've had the Loki series going on Disney Plus at the same time. So the day that I watched this, on its release date, there was another episode of Loki, which I saw beforehand, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. And then I watched that and I was a little bit let down. So I think Loki and Black Widow being on at the same time was sort of a factor that made me enjoy this film less, because Loki, I mean, it's finished now. Great show, really enjoyed it. Um, it's just it just sort of damaged the film because we've already been having this great MCU content that is different and it's new. And this film sort of felt like one that would have come out back in maybe phase one or early phase two. I mean, there's some great films from that era, but just not as good and as experimental as we're used to. Um, I think that's all I've got to say about Black Widow. Yeah, it wasn't a bad film. I really enjoyed it, but when you compare it to the rest of the Marvel stuff, it just isn't as good. So I'm just going to take a sip of my water because I've been going on about Black Widow. Oh, right. The next film I saw in the cinema, Space Jam: A New Legacy. Um, I like the original Space Jam. It's a very silly film about Michael Jordan joining up with the Looney Tunes to play a game of basketball. Not a huge fan of basketball. I mean, I used to watch it a little bit. I know some basketballers, but I'm not, really deep into the NBA. It's not really big here in the UK. But yeah, Space Jam: A New Legacy. I saw this with a group of friends, a group of mates, and we all went because we knew it wouldn't be very good. And you know what? I was right. It just, I've never audibly sighed or put my head in my hands because of watching a film. Um, you know what though? I prefer ridiculously, hilariously bad than stupidly boring. So it's not the worst film I've seen this year. It's in the bottom 10, definitely. Um, this film is just an advert. Um, there's so much to unpack with this film. Uh, it's ridiculous. There's a hell of a lot of cameos. It's literally just Warner Brothers the movie. It feels a lot like the Emoji Movie, where it just feels like it's there to just sell a product, and it feels like they're just going, "Oh, here's your HBO Max subscription." Um, of course, we don't have that here in the UK, but it did just feel like an advert for a streaming service, and them just going, "Look at all the properties we have." Because there was just so many cameos everywhere. Rick and Morty showed up. I love Rick and Morty, but I was just like, why are they in this? Um, they went into like Harry Potter world, DC world, stuff like that, and it's just so transparent that it's just an advert. I know the original was just there to sell Air Jordans, but this one just feels even worse. Um, there's a lot of stuff in this film. LeBron James as the lead, not a good actor at all. I know he tried his hardest, and also there's a lot of ass kissing in this film, going, "Oh, he's the king, he's the greatest, he's this, he's that," which you get kind of sick of. Um, you know what though? I was not bored at all during this film. Very entertaining. It's just bad. The whole father-son dynamic was okay, although most of the actors aren't very good in this film. The guy who plays War Machine, what's his name? Don Cheadle. He was in this as Al G Rhythm, of course, because he's an algorithm. Haha, funny. Me and my friends throughout the entire film just kept on thinking they were saying Ali G. Of course they weren't. But there's a lot of stuff in here that was very odd. And when they hop between worlds, I was thinking this is a kids' film. I don't think a lot of kids are actually going to get the references in this. Like they go to like an Austin Powers world and Mad Max, and I was like, I don't think a lot of kids are actually going to understand what these are. There's like a Casablanca reference. Kids aren't going to know what that is. Of course, they did like DC, Wonder Woman, stuff like that. Kids are going to know. Harry Potter, of course. They did Game of Thrones, which was like a very short little stint. Um, you know, just them going, look at what we own. Um, I can't really think of much more to say about this film. I was not bored. Um, but you can go see this in cinemas now. It's still in cinemas. Black Widow's still in cinemas as well. Those are my two cinematic films this month. Well, films I saw in the cinema this month. Not terrible, but not great either. So the next one we need to go on to. I'm not sure if I should break this down into three or just do it in one. It's the Fear Street trilogy on Netflix. Now there's part one, which is in 1994, part two, which is in 1978, and part three, which is in 1666. And before I saw this, I was thinking, oh, this is gonna be really interesting. I like this, and I didn't have a clue that this is based on a huge book series that's got like over 100 books. It's like 150 books or something crazy like that. I'd never even heard of it. I didn't know it was this huge thing that had quite a big fan base to it. I think it was R.L. Stein that made the books, and they've made a trilogy out of it on Netflix. Um, so I'm going to start off with the first one. I'm going to sort of talk about these in a group because that it's a trilogy. So the first one is in 1994, and I thought this one was okay. Um, I think that it's you can tell that it's really influenced by Scream. The opening 10 minutes are pretty much the same opening as Scream. They had they had a girl from Stranger Things in the first one, Maya Hawke, I think her name is, and she was probably my favorite character in it. But she's only in it for 10 minutes, so she's in the first 10 minutes. She gets killed. Pretty much shot for shot, same thing that happened at Scream. They call it like an homage in this, but it's pretty much just copying. But if they're calling it a reference as well. You can say that. But I liked this film. I thought it was okay. Um, there was a twist in it that I didn't see coming, which was a girl said she broke up with her partner called Alex. So of course I assumed that she was talking about her boyfriend, but it's actually a girlfriend. So I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. A bit of representation is always great in cinema. I wasn't seeing that coming, so I was like, oh yeah, that's a nice little twist. Um, some of the kills in this first one are gnarly though. They're seriously cool. I'd probably say that's the best part of this film. Are the kills, the cool kills, the best kills in the franchise are in this film. They are just so, oh my god, they're really cool. Just go and watch the kills from this. I'm hoping James A. Janice releases a kill count on these soon. That'd be great. Because they are pretty much slasher films, and I love slashers. Yeah, so 1994. They tried to tie in with the 90s as much as possible, but personally, except from them maybe using like a really crappy old computer, and then maybe going like, "Oh, I'm gonna listen to Nirvana" or something. Um, it didn't really feel like 1994. It could have happened nowadays quite easily. So yeah, the first film, acting's a little bit shaky in it. The main character, she's probably the worst actor of all, which is annoying. She's probably a lovely person, so I'm not gonna say anything bad about her. I just didn't think she was a great actor in this. Um, but yeah, and then the second film is in 1978, and this is by far the best one of the trilogy. And it's also the least connected to the other films, because the third and first are sort of connected, and this one's sort of like the black sheep off by itself. But it was the best one. I had Sadie Sink from Stranger Things as the lead. Um, I enjoyed this one the most by far. Very similar to what's it called? Friday the 13th. It's a summer camp, and it's a slasher, so it's pretty much Friday the 13th. Um, Get a little bit more water. And I found this interesting though. I was thinking about this afterwards. They went from 1994 to 1978, completely skipping the 80s because I think everyone would just compare it to Stranger Things. So I think that's why they skipped the 80s. 1978, I liked the whole sister dynamic between Sadie Sink's character and her sister in this film. I thought it was good. A lot of references in this one as well. A little bit of Shining reference with the killer in this. Um, oh yeah, the sort of overtying sort of villain throughout all these is Sarah Fear, which is a bit on the nose, but it's from the books or whatever. So I don't really have much of a problem with that. But 78 was definitely the best one. Not as cool kills. The soundtrack, I can appreciate a great soundtrack in a film, and this had some fantastic songs in it. Carry On, Wayward Son. I think this one also had a Nirvana in it right at the start when they were still in the 90s. but just a great, great, great soundtrack. Blue Oyster Cult, Don't Fear the Reaper, great song. That's also in it. Loved the soundtrack. Great, great, great. I can't praise it enough. Um, the acting was better in this one, and I enjoyed this one the most. So I think we should go on to the third one, part 3, 1666. Now, this is the worst one. This is the worst one, because I don't think 1666 is a very interesting um, era to sort of have a horror movie. Because there's nothing really you can link to, because it's just sort of, it's so far back that we don't have any reference for it. So it's just not very intriguing. And this is also very similar to The Witch, which came out a few years ago, like an old-fashioned type horror movie set in like it's kind of medieval times or whatever. Um, yeah, I didn't enjoy this one as much. Half the film was set in 1666, and then the other half went back to 1994. So the 1666 part, um, they were all doing Irish accents, and most of the cast was absolutely terrible at it. Really bad accents in this. They could have got a dialect coach. Most of the cast is back because they're playing previous characters in like the timeline, but it's the same actors. So that might confuse some people. I was just like, yeah, it's just kind of a cool thing, I guess. A lot of problems with this one. Didn't enjoy it as much. Just not very entertaining. And then the second half, they go back to the 90s to sort of tie it all together, which was good because we got a bit more Gillian Jacobs, or Gillian, I don't know how to say her name, from Community. I like that show. But, this one was better in the second half because they sort of do like a Home Alone like trap sequence, which is kind of cool. And they get all the killers, lock them up, sort of fight them all. And it turns out I sort of hated this because I was like, yeah, Sarah Fia is really on the nose. Whoa, voice crack. Yeah, Sarah Fia, that name is very on the nose. But them having the main villain have the surname Good is just so bad. Oh, what the hell? He was called like Officer Good, and I was like, wow, this guy's definitely not going to turn out to be the bad guy. It was just so on the nose. They may as well just called him Happy Nice Man, Mr. Innocent. I don't know, but I just didn't like that. But they defeat him in the end. Nice wrap up, and then they sort of set it up so they could have another film or even another little extra trilogy slapped on there if they wanted to. And you know what? I'd watch them. I didn't hate any of these. Of course, the second one was the best. Not as good as Black Widow though. The first one was okay, and the third one was just not as good. So yeah, I think that's it for the Fear Street trilogy. So the next film, just gonna have another sip of water. There we go. Good to stay hydrated. Is the Tomorrow War on Amazon Prime. Now, this actually came out last month. I think it was on the 30th of June. I think that's when it came out. But of course, I haven't started doing this yet, and I only watched it this month. I didn't see it on release date. And this one is just a standard action film starring Chris Pratt. I like Chris Pratt. He's great in a lot of movies. Not in this one, weirdly. Didn't really enjoy him as much in this film. Very long, two and a half hours pretty much. It reminded me a lot of Army of the Dead, which is another film that came out this year. Not as good as Army of the Dead. That was Zack Snyder. I didn't enjoy it as much as that film. That film wasn't like amazing, but it was pretty good. But this one is okay again. Pretty standard stuff that we've already seen before, and it's about them. They get drafted into this war 30 years in the future, and they have to go and fight in the future. Um, Chris Pratt in this, he plays a teacher, although it's just kind of a shoehorned in thing. It's just so we can link it back to something later on in the film. Um, it's kind of a silly thing as well. It's not great. Um, pretty standard stuff. Although a weird thing is, I quite enjoyed the start of this film. And then when they jumped, they were sacrificing people off, and the monsters in this. At the start, when they introduced them, were awesome. I love the way they introduced them. They looked a bit like rats. In this weird, sort of very tense scene that I loved. and then the rest of the film they were just kind of like CGI messes. The CGI is not good in this film at all. Yeah, they were just kind of like CGI messes just on the screen. Also, why did every single like monster or alien sound the exact same to the Demogorgons now? Like every single one happened in A Quiet Place. It happened in this, so it's just every single monster now sounds the same. But yeah, this film, when they jumped, they did like this really cool, which what I thought was the ending of the film. I was like, oh wow, it's a really emotional ending. Him sort of seeing his daughter in the future. I was like, oh wow, that's really cool. And then I looked at the runtime, and there was still like 40 minutes left, and I was like, why didn't you just cut it off here? I would have been happy with that, but they had to add this bit on at the end where him and his dad are like kind of have like a bad relationship with each other, and they have to try and like mend their relationship in the last 40 minutes. So it just felt like the film had ended, and then they've added this huge bit on the end, which wasn't necessary. Um, but you know, it's not the worst action film I've seen this year. I've seen some stinkers, you know, but this one was okay. Um, would I suggest you watch it? Not really. I think it's good that this came out on streaming and not in cinemas, because if I paid money to see this, I would have not have been happy. This would have been even lower on the list. So yeah, that's The Tomorrow War, which you can watch now on Amazon Prime. And the next film and the final film we have today is the Netflix film America the Motion Picture, which came out, I believe, for Independence Day, 4th of July. It's an animated comedy and sort of like a made up retelling of the story of America. So there was, you know, this like George Washington and Abraham Lincoln and Uncle Sam and all that. It's kind of like another animated action film. I think this had the same animation style ish as stuff like Archer and stuff like that. It was, well, not the same, but it was quite similar. So it's a comedy, and I didn't like this one, to be honest. It was only 90 minutes, which is nice because a lot of the films I watch now are over 2 hours long. I wish films would get shorter again. Have another drink. Here we go. We're doing it live, kind of. But anyway, yeah. America the Motion Picture. Pretty short. There were some bits I liked. Great cast, an absolutely great cast. You know, you got the oh, what's his name? I've completely forgotten his name. It'll come back to me. It'll come back to me. He's been in a lot. Oh, what's his name? Can't remember. Oh well, yeah. This is the main guy in this. He was the My Name Jeff guy. Can't remember his name now. Oh, Channing, something like that. Not Channing. Channing Tatum. There we go. I remembered his name. Channing Tatum was in this. He did a good job. Jason Mantzoukas, another funny guy. He was in this. Andy Samberg, another funny person. So you know they're all in this. Great comedians, funny people, and they're just not given much to do. It's a cool final sequence, and the start of this film is actually pretty good. But as soon as that title card hits, it just goes downhill dramatically. There's a lot of very silly and childish jokes in this. Um, you know, a lot of just references, a lot of reference comedy, which is never great. I mean, it can sometimes be a bit funny, but I think Deadpool does that pretty well. It can sometimes get a bit annoying with that, though. But there's a lot of references in this, a lot of just silly things. Of course, it's not supposed to be taken seriously, but I wouldn't say it's worth your time, really. It's a bit more boring than Space Jam. Space Jam was bad. This one's not great. I actually enjoyed Space Jam more, probably just because I was watching it with my buddies. But yeah, that's all the films this month. Been a bit negative this month, but definitely the best film I've seen this month is Black Widow. And then I'd probably say either Space Jam or America the Motion Picture is the worst film. I'd say America because I didn't enjoy it as much. But anyway, yeah, that's the first episode. And what's coming out next month? So there's a few films coming out next month that I'm really looking forward to. The first one is The Suicide Squad. I cannot wait for this. We're getting a bit early here in the UK, which is a little bit weird. I don't know why that is. It's probably because of the HBO Max thing, because we don't have it over here, and it's coming out like on the same day in cinemas and HBO Max in America. But we don't have that over here. So the Suicide Squad, I'm looking forward to that. James Gunn is phenomenal. Hopefully, it's better than the original Suicide Squad because that was not great. Yeah, I love James Gunn's movies. This one I've been looking forward to as soon as it was announced. It looks great. I can't wait. I hope it's good. I'm just begging that it's good. Um, so yeah, the Suicide Squad. Another one is Jungle Cruise. Originally, I wasn't really that interested in this, and then the trailers came out. I was like, "This is going to be good. I'm going to enjoy this. It's going to be a fun, classic Disney movie." It's got The Rock, who isn't a great actor, but I'm sure he'll do a good job. A fun, he's fun. Emily Blunt, great actress, she's going to be in it. Who else? Jack Whitehall, not a comedian I like that much. I'm sure he'll be good. I've heard some good things about this film so far, reviews wise. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this. And I'll probably say another film I am really looking forward to is Free Guy, technically owned by Disney now, but it's Ryan Reynolds, it's Taika Waititi. I just can't wait. It's going to be so much fun. It's pretty much GTA the movie, and yeah, I can't wait for this one. So yeah, there we have it, guys. The first episode of the monthly movie mini podcast. As I've said, I'm going to do this every month on the last day, and please check out that video later on at 7 p.m. So please check it out, and please check out the next month's episode on the final day of August, where I'll go over some more movies that I've watched in the cinema and on streaming. So please check that out. And yeah, so guys, I've been Luke from RetroRevival. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you all later. Bye.